insanlar. Bu nasıl işti ben anlamadım.
Bırakınca bırakıyoruz tamamen.
Gerçekten öyle. Yani devlet müsaade ediyor diye yani sizin başınıza bir polis dikmesi gerekmiyor ki. Yani o kısma da dikkat edin ama inanın ki ben şaşırdım yani. Gittim birkaç tanıdığım düğünüydü. Şöyle bir uğrayıp çıktık hemen.
Evet, dikkat etmek lazım hocam.
Evet, evet.
Evet Ömer Hocam, iyi akşamlar. Ömer Hocam
İyi akşamlar. Naci Hocam selam dedim. Yoğundunuz galiba.
evet, Ömer Hocam tam teşekkür, tam tekmilli evet karşımızda
Ekipteyiz. Doğru
huzurlarımızda.
selam.
Evet.
Recep Hocam selam ediyorum.
Merhabalar Ömer hocam.
Sağ olun, sağ olun. Herkese selamlar diyelim. Dostlar.
Herkese benden de selamlar tekrar.
Sağ olun. Gencer Hocam sizin konu ilginç şöyle. Aslında edebiyat bölümlerinde History of Language ya da Languages verilmeli. Sadece biz Introduction to English Literature deyip geçiyoruz. Halbuki
Aynen.
bu dilin evrimini görse nereden evrilmiş, nasıl gelmiş, doğru mu?
Aynen katılıyorum hocam.
Medieval'da
Zaten-
İngilizce
Aynen öyledir. Şöyle yani biz 4 yıl ya da 5 yıl İngilizce öğretiyoruz öğrencilere. 5 yılın sonunda yani bu hazırlığı da sayarsak 5
Evet.
yıldır. Bunun sonunda öğrenci mezun olduğu zaman İngilizcenin hangi dil ailesinden geldiğini dahi bilmiyor. Bazen bakıyoruz soruyoruz adam diyor ki işte ne bileyim
Doğru.
farklı gruplardan bahsediyor doğrusu.
doğru, doğru.
Hatta Ural Altay diyen bile var yani Türkçe ile karıştırıyor zaman. Türkçeyi başka dil ailesinden öyle.
Doğru.
Biz zamanlar dersimle öğrencilere dil tarihi dersinde dedim ki 10 puan vereceğim. Eğer İngiltere'nin sadece yani UK olarak değil de İngiltere'nin haritasını çizerseniz yani tüm şeyleri kapattırdım medyaları. Şimdi öğrencilere baktım biri elma çizmiş, öteki armut çizmiş, bilmem ne çizmiş, şu çizmiş. Yani şöyle yani bu kadar yıl madem bu dil okunuyor ya da öğreniliyor bu dilin mutlaka yani bir haritasını gördüğü zaman tanımalı öğrenci.
Doğru.
O dilin nereden geldiğini bilmesi lazım. Hatta ben bazen bizim öğrencilere diyorum.
Kesinlikle.
Anlattıktan sonra şunu söyleyeyim. Diyorum ki şimdi siz oturun Normanlara bir teşekkür edin.
Evet.
Çünkü İngilizcenin kolaylaşması, basitleşmesi Norman istilasından sonra oluyor.
Çok doğru. Vallahi öyle.
Evet.
Hocam yanılıyorsam düzelttik değil mi? Şöyle ya oraya gelen bu kabileler zaten barbar, eğitimsiz. Bunlar Almancanın köylü Almanca konuşuyorlar baba. Ne yapmışlar? Artikeller atmışlar. O Keltçeyle birleşmiş böyle. Yanlış anlamayın da benim kibar dostlar var diye.
Doğru.
Hibrit bir dil çıkmış. Yoksa bildiğimiz Almanca o nominatif hali, akuzatif hali hepsi var.
Hepsi
Ama
var
bunlar,
zaten.
ya ben de köylüyüm de bunlar daha köylü olduğu için ne yapıyor dostlar da gerçekten öyle.
Aynen.
O Keltçeyle birleşiyor. Artikeller daha sonra bu matbaayla falan beraber yazına geçtik özellikle Rönesans döneminde biraz şekil alıyor. Doğru mu hocam?
Aynen öyle. Zaten
Yani bunları bilmesi gerekiyor kesinlikle.
yani şöyle tabii daha sonra onlar görüşürüz de neyse
Ömer
zaman
Hocam
geldi.
köylü yaptınız bizi. Köylü yaptınız Ömer Hocam bizi.
Mustafa Hocam.
Hocam iyi akşamlar. Hürmet ediyorum.
İyi akşamlar herkese.
Sağ olun. iyi
Teşekkürler
akşamlar.
Mustafa Hocam. Hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk.
Evet Almanca demek ki köylü diye.
Almanca orada pardon Mustafa Hocam varken biz yorum yapmayalım.
Evet.
Evet arkadaşlar, dostlar, A takımı shall we kick off diyelim mi?
Yes please.
Yes, okay. We shall. Hello, dear participants. You are all welcome to the final seminar of the fourth series of KTUDELL online seminars. I'm Özlem, one of the research assistants of Karadeniz Technical University, the Department of English Language and Literature. Thank you for all being here with us tonight and from the beginning. I wish everyone a qualified time. Before proceeding with the presentations, we would like to remind you a couple of issues. First, you can write your questions that you think are related to the presentation topic in the chat box whenever you want. They are going to be answered by the speaker at the end as much as the program flow and the time allow. Secondly, we would like you to know that we will send an e-participation certificate to all participants who fill out the form to be shared again in the chat box during the seminar. One last reminder, you can follow our program on our YouTube channel simultaneously with Zoom. I'm glad to announce tonight's guest, Professor Dr. Gencer ELKILIÇ from Kafkas University. He's going to give a speech on why does language change or die out. Gencer ELKILIÇ was born in Ardahan in 1967. He completed his undergraduate study at Atatürk University, Kazım Karabekir Education Faculty in 1999. He got MA from Bilkent University in 1994 and PhD from Atatürk University in 2001. He became an assistant professor in 2001, an associate professor in 2013, and professor in 2018. He has been serving as the head of Department of English Language and Literature since 2006 and the Dean of the Faculties of Science and Letters since 2019. His field is linguistics, and he's also interested in language teaching, methodology, and culture. Before moving on to the presentation, we would like you to share with the image of the school and the city where he works. And we want to inspire you, our dear students. Let me share my screen. And now let's have a quick look what we have been doing so far. So sorry for the, okay. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay. Before leaving the stage to our guest, let us listen to our head of department, Professor Dr. Naci Kayoğlu. Hocam, the stage is yours, please.
Okay, Özlem, thank you very much. When I watched those pictures, I felt it was just like yesterday when we started, but there's a long way to go. Anyway, it's my pleasure to welcome you with the topic, and also it's my honor to have Gencer Hocam. It's very kind of you to be with us tonight with the topic. And for the last 2 days, we've been focusing on language. And yesterday we talked about the manipulation in language. And today's topic is a bit broad. So I choose to keep quiet and also listen to Gencer Hocam with interest. Hocam, yes, the platform is yours, the floor is yours.
Okay, now, yes, everybody, I'm really honored to be here with you. So good people, good-hearted, so beautiful people. Normally, proverb says, first come, first served. But I'm the last person to serve in here. I don't know how many people are watching me, but I know that there are so valuable people like you and our students and your students. So I'd like to thank to everybody joining this meeting or this seminar. And yeah, you know, in the world, there are about 7,000 languages. And every year, about approximately 9 languages die out, disappear. So I wanted to touch on this issue. Why? Because you can see if every year 9 languages disappear, and also we can see that in the near future the number will increase. The disappearance number will increase. Maybe 20 years later, this will be about 20 languages a year. So this is really very important. So let me first start with language families. I don't want to just directly set out why languages change and why languages die out. I'd like to give some information about language families. Why? Because you see, generally, I talked to Ömer Hoca before starting this meeting, and we shared some information about that. And we know that in most of the English language and literature departments, students generally focus on the literature of English, or let's say literature of that language. But they do not deal with from which language group their languages come, or what kind of changes or stages English language or other languages lived or experienced, etc., etc. So today I'd like to just talk about these things. So let's get started with first language families. Let me first say something more. Languages are like human beings. They generally, we can say they are born, they survive for a certain time, and then when the time comes, they die out. So during this survival time, they may change because of some external and internal reasons, of course. They change, and in the languages, changes are not at the same rate. Some languages can change very fast, and some of them can change very slowly. So if some languages change very fast, we can say that, let's give example from English. If we compare Old English with Middle English, for instance, in 1 millennium, English language really changed too much. It became as if it were a different language. Why? Because it changed very fast. And of course, we will talk about the reasons why languages change or die out, but this is the beginning of the story. So we can say that some of the languages really change very slowly, and some of them change very fast. So if the languages change slowly, then we can see that there are not so many differences between the earliest form of the language and the latest form. So for instance, in Icelandic language, you can see this situation. It's a very slow changing language, or slowly changing language. So a person today, modern person who speaks Icelandic can understand the old sagas of Icelandic. Why? Because it really changed very slowly. But as we said, English language changed very fast. So a person, we will, of course, I'll show you some texts from different periods of English, and you're going to see again. And English language changed so much because it really, it changed very rapidly. So we said languages are like human beings or like animals. They are born, they survive for a certain time, and after then, when the time comes, they die out. Okay, now, I'd like to talk about the language families in order to, of course, use some information from here or knowledge from here in the process of our speech. Why? Because some of the languages given in here are dead now, and some of them changed into other languages, and this can also be a kind of dead language, you know. So let's see. So this is the Indo-European language family, broadly. And you can see, maybe you know some of them, and you may not know about some of them. So let me explain a little bit all these things. And first one in here is the Indo-Iranian. And this group is also called as Aryan language groups, Aryan. So in this group, Indian languages, Persian language, and also Pakistani, Afghanistan, and Kurdish language also is found in this place. And second one given in here is Armenian. And so, you know, this is the language which is spoken in Armenia, and some people living in France or America, they've immigrated there and they speak that language. So this is again a kind of surviving language. Today people speak it. And third one here is Hellenic language. So Hellenic is the classical Greek language. So it is normally nobody speaks Hellenic language today as in the classical form, but Greek is the dialect of Hellenic. So we can say that Hellenic language is a dead one because it changed to just another one. So Greek is the dialect. And Albanian, you see, this language is spoken in Albania. It's again a surviving language. It continues to be spoken. And Italic or Italic group, this language normally is a dead one now, but it's some forms or dialects is surviving today, like Welsh. And there was Cornish language in during the 18th century. It disappeared, but now Welsh language is in this group. And Germanic group, in Germanic, we should talk about it in detail. Why? Because you see, this language is the language of English family. So you can see there are three groups or divisions in here: West Germanic, North Germanic, and East Germanic. So in the English is in the West Germanic group, and not, of course, High Germanic, but in the Low Germanic group. So High Germanic group is the German spoken today in Germany and elsewhere. But in the Low Germanic group, you can see Dutch, Frisian, and English, and Plattdeutsch. These are the languages which are related, and they are from Germanic group. And in the North group, you can see West and East. This is divided into two. And it's interesting, but we can see Northern countries or the languages of Northern countries belong to this group, like Icelandic, Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish. But Finnish is not in this group. So we can say that Danish and Swedish or Norwegian and Icelandic languages have some similarities in Germanic, with Germanic and, or let me say, German and English. Why? So we can see that they are from the same subcategory. And another one is Gothic, is group, and Gothic language is not spoken now, it's a dead language. Another one is Balto-Slavonic language group. This is the group of Russian language and Latvian language, Bulgarian language, etc. So we can see that this group is also surviving, and today people speak, maybe we can say at a very high number of people speak that language. The other one is Tocharian. I don't know whether you've heard about it or not, but Tocharian language is spoken in Chinese Turkestan. And it's spoken now, and it's not a dead language, it's a surviving one. And lastly, in the Indo-European language family is Hittite language. So you can see in here. Of course, some of the linguists do not include Hittite language in this group, but most of them include in here. So I wanted to include again in my diagram. So Hittite language, you can see today it's not spoken. It's again a dead language. So from here, we can see that in Indo-European family, of course, there are some languages which are spoken and they survive, but some of them are dead. So in Italic group, I wanted to again come back to Italic group. This language, is in the Latin form. So Latin people like today, let's say Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese languages are from this group as well. So they are the dialects of Italic. First Latin, and then after Latin, we call Romance languages like Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese languages as well. So they are also surviving. Okay, now, of course, we are talking about the broad, or let's say main groups. So another group is Hamachi Semitic group. And in this group, you can see Semitic. For instance, in East, we can find Babylonian, Assyrian, and Arabic languages. So you can see that in the East group, Babylonian and Assyrian languages are not surviving now. They are dead languages. But in this group, only Arabic is the surviving one. The reason is that you may understand as well, and you can see that Arabic is the language of Islam. That's why it's a surviving language. People, cling to this language because of Islamic religion. And in the Western group, you can see again, Ubaid, Arabic, and Hebrew languages. And in this group also, Hebrew language is the surviving one. The reason is that Hebrew language is the language of Israel today. So again, because of religion, like Arabic, these languages survive. And second one in the Hamitic Semitic group is Hamitic. So in here we can find Coptic language. Of course, Coptic language is not a surviving language today because it died out in the 18th century, and it was spoken in Egypt. But today in Egypt, people are speaking a dialect of Arabic. So Coptic can be just seen in Coptic church, just, for sermons maybe related to Coptic church. Otherwise, it is not a kind of a language used among the society to contact with each other. It's not like that. So from this group also, you can see that there are some languages which are surviving, and some of them disappeared. And in Coptic or Hamitic group, we can say also a Berber language, which is spoken in Somalia or somewhere else. Okay. Now, another important group is our language group and Ural-Altaic family. So Finno-Ugrian, and in this group, you can see Ural-Altaic, Finno-Ugrian first group, Hungarian, Finnish. As I said, Finnish language is not in the, Germanic group, but it is in here, in Ural-Altaic group. It's similar to Turkish. So Estonian language also in this group. And you can see Altaic is the group of Turkish language and Mongol languages. So these are, you can see, surviving languages as we speak Turkish. And another one is Sino-Tibetan language group. And this language is, again, a surviving group. People speak this group of languages like Thai, Burmese, and Tibetan, Chinese, and Korean, these languages. And they are, as I told you, surviving languages. And another one is Dravidian languages, Tamil and Telugu. So these are also spoken in Tamil or somewhere else. So they are surviving languages. And Caucasian language group, in here we have Georgian language. Again, it's a surviving one. And African languages last in here. Niger Congo and Zulu. These are the most important tribes of African areas. So Niger Congo and Zulu, these languages are spoken in such places. Okay, everybody. Now I'd like to add some more thing to the family. In Africa, as I told you, in the world there are around 7,000 languages. And for instance, in Africa, there are some tribes. And in these tribes, of course, they are not very, let's say, majority ones. They are minority tribes. And there may be some people like 100 people in the tribe, and they speak one language. And in some tribes, it's interesting, but I think that you've never heard about that. But in some tribes, people speak as many as 20 languages. 20 languages in a tribe. The reason is that they think if you marry a person who knows your language, then it is considered to be a kind of incest. Incest, understandable. So people try to find a bride or bridegroom from a person who speaks any other languages apart from their own languages, understand? So they shouldn't know the language of the bride, they shouldn't know the language of the bridegroom. So therefore, we can say that they can speak as many as 20 languages in their tribes. But as I told you, it's not the sense of normal large language families. Why? Because you can see that in English, there are, if you count all the words in a dictionary, you can find more than 200,000 words. But in the tribes, African tribes, you can only find maybe 100 words in a language, because their lifestyle, their point of views and their lifestyles are limited, as you know. They are just dealing with hunting and just primitive lives, etc. This is the reason of their learning as many as 20 languages. So we shouldn't be surprised. Okay, now I'd like to show you some texts slowly. We just came to the English language, you know. So this is a story from Bible, and the story of prodigal son from Bible. And normally, of course, I'm not giving you any sermon in here in Bible, but I'm just trying to show you some linguistic things. Why? Because even in Quran, sometimes we should do this. Yeah, it's interesting, but we should not just read these things as holy books just for learning and living according to these things. We should also focus on the things related to grammar or linguistic things, or let's say phonology and other things. So that's why I chose some the same text, same story from different periods. So this is the story of prodigal son. So of course, my students generally know about these things, because when I enter the history of English language classes, I most of the time mention these things. But those who haven't heard about these things should pay attention to these things. So you can see that. I'd like to just ask you a question. Just think by yourself. Of course, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're gonna answer me. Can you understand the text here? If you look at here, can you understand it? In relation to grammar, in relation to vocab, in relation to spelling, I just mean that. I'm just giving 20 seconds to that. Okay. So you can see, Now the eldest son was out on the farm, and his way back, as he approached the house, he heard music, dancing, etc. So you see, it's quite normal. Why? Because it's a modern English form. It was written in 1961, so 20th century English. So it's quite normal. This is the first text. I'm just showing you the direction of the change of English language. Now, the same story, different period. Now his eldest son was in field as he came and drew nigh to the house. He heard musica, dancing, etc., etc. This is just first sentence. It seems to be a little bit German sounding or something like that. So you can see that this is a little bit different. Of course, if you go down the story, you will see du hast, etc., etc., and lots of things. Du hast, you see, it's almost German. So, of course, it doesn't mean that this cannot be understood. It can be understood, but it's not so clear as the previous one. And you see the father, lots of things. So we can see that this belongs to 1611. 1611. So it's almost early modern English. So you can see that there are spelling differences, some different, of course, some vocabulary, but of course, again, it can be understood. Grammar is very similar, but there may be some pronouns difference. It's okay. And so you see, this belongs to, as I told you, 1611. Now, another one. Look at here. Also, the elder son was in field, and when he came and needed the house, heard the symphony and crowd, etc., etc. So you see, this is more difficult than the previous one. And you can see grammatically also, it seems to be okay, but other things, spelling seems to be, very different from the previous one. So this belongs to 1380s. 1380s. So we can say it's the Middle English. Yes, Middle English after Norman invasion. When English language again came into the scene, English was like this. New spellings, of course, and grammar seems to be very similar, but of course it's not exactly the same. Okay, now. Yeah. So is this English? I can ask you this question. So this is the same story in different period, you can see. So you can find long vowels, short vowels, and they are very similar to, let's say some of them similar to phonetic alphabets, like vowels. So you can see that this is completely different from the previous one and the first one as well. So you can see that this is an English one, the same story. Of course, it doesn't mean that this is the whole story. This is half of the story. Okay, so this belongs to the period before Norman invasion. During the first half of the 11th century. During the first half of the 11th century. So this is, again, English, but it is completely different. So we can say that this belongs to Old English period, and now it's a dead language. Nobody speaks this. If somebody wants to learn about this, this person has to have a specific information or study about this one to understand. Okay, all these things show that English language really changed radically. Okay, now we slowly came to the changes of languages. When we have seen the changes in English language. So today, now I'd like to talk about why languages change. So first of all, when we talk about language changes, most prominent thing in language changes to show is the pronunciation. So you can see the changes very easily in the pronunciation. So I want to start with the pronunciation changes. And the reasons, of course, some suggested reasons. In literature, they say, yeah, this causes, etc., etc. And today I'd like to share this information with you, and we will testify whether these cause changes in pronunciation or not. First suggested reason in pronunciation changing is geographic and climatic conditions. In literature, generally, it is said that if a place is mountainous, for instance, or it's very cold, and if the other place is hot or flat or something like that, then it may contribute to the changes of pronunciation. But normally, it is, maybe it was the case for the last centuries, it's okay, but during this modern world, as far as I determined, it doesn't cause, let me say, geographical conditions or climatic conditions do not cause any changes in the pronunciation of the people. Why? Because today we have, you can see as now, we have technology and we can have a good contact with people easily and rapidly. But in the past, it was impossible for people to travel in a short time and contact with other people. So these used to cause changes in the past, but now, as I told you, it is not the case. People can contact with each other very easily. So even in Germany, if you're a Turkish person living in Germany, you can contact with your family in Turkey in a short time. So this doesn't cause anything. And climatic conditions also do not cause anything like that, because if a place is cold or hot, this doesn't cause any changes in the pronunciation. So I'd like to give an example to this in something like this. For instance, if you take all the people from Trabzon to Kars, and all people from Kars to Trabzon, take them, and it doesn't cause any, this changing or taking people to different places because of Kars being cold and Trabzon's being, rainy or something like that. This doesn't cause people to change their dialects suddenly or pronunciation directly or suddenly. This is not the cause of climatic conditions. This is maybe, when you are living with other people around you, like in Kars, people are living with Russian people and Georgian people and other people, and they are contacting with these people because of trading or other things, and their pronunciations, their languages can be affected. This may be, yeah. However, this is not the case of a climatic condition. So it means geographic and climatic conditions do not cause any changes in the pronunciation. Second one is biological and racial factors. Biological factors like, some people like very fat, very thin, or a person who is tall, one is short, or let's say girl or boy. These do not cause any differences in the pronunciation, or do not cause any changes in the pronunciation because of being a girl, because of being a boy, being tall or short. Of course, there may be some people who are defective of speech. This is personal, but this cannot be generalized, to all the people. So again, racial factors, again, do not cause any differences or any changes in the pronunciation of the people. Why? Because you see, if you take a person, a baby, newborn baby, or Turkish baby, and an Italian baby to England, for instance, a newborn, of course, to England without contacting with their families, if they live in the same surrounding, in the same environment, if they get the same education, etc., etc., you can see that these two children, when they are grown up, they speak English like English native speakers. This is not related to races of the people. So it means biological and racial factors do not cause any changes of the pronunciation. However, third one, fashion sometimes causes changes. Interesting, what fashion? But of course, when I mention fashion, it doesn't mean that this is related to the fashion related to the clothing of the people. This is related to the fashion of speech. If some people try to use specific pronunciation or speech in order to affect other people, this can sometimes cause changes in the pronunciation. Most of the time, we can say that, let's say stars, movie stars or stars on television, try to create new pronunciation or new words. And they are followed by teenagers or fans of the people, fans of these stars. And sometimes their fashion, their style may not be accepted by some people, and they may die out. It's okay, but sometimes they can survive, or they can be accepted by, first of all, their fans, and after then, majority of the people can accept, and then maybe the whole country, whole people can accept. So fashion seems to be really important because they are followed by other people. So, of course, this is not maybe related just only the pronunciation, but related to as well the words. But you see, nowadays, just, let's say for a couple of years, in the teenagers and also elderly people can use kanka. Kanka was not present, 2 years ago, but today, because it became fashion and everybody almost uses. Maybe very old people do not use, but most of the people today talk about kanka. So you can see fashion causes changes in pronunciation as well as vocab, you can see. One more thing is that social group changes cause pronunciation changes as well. I have two examples of this. If people go up in their status, or they go up in their let's say level, or something like that, or go down, then this thing causes changes in the pronunciation. One example is 1917 Russian Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution, During that time, people wanted to be equal. Normally, they thought everybody is equal. So upper class pronunciation was not accepted by the people because everybody were considered to be, or was considered to be equal. So they said, why should we use upper class dialect? So upper class dialect lost its importance in Russia in 1916, and lower class dialect became important because they said everybody is equal, so everybody spoke the same dialect. This is a social group change going from up to down. And another one is English. In English, you see 17th and during the 17th and 18th century, we can see Industrial Revolution. And during that time, when middle class people gained some money, became some wealthier, and also they carried their pronunciation to upper class. So we can see middle class pronunciation was taken to upper class, so it gained importance again. So in Russia, it lost prestige, and in England, it gained prestige, we can say. So social group change causes changes in the pronunciations of people. Another cause or another suggested reason is considered to be childish language. And we can see that childish language normally do not cause any changes in the pronunciation of the whole society. Why? Because sometimes when children speak in a different way, their mothers try to imitate them to be understood by the child. Normally, according to some linguists, if a child is speaking the mother tongue, he may not or she may not speak properly. Why? Because this person's speech organs may not be developed. Therefore, he or she cannot produce the sounds correctly. But normally, the children know the real sounds, but they cannot produce. So it means that if their parents or their mothers try to follow them to be understood, this is not really a good thing. Why? Because when the children grow up, their speech organs will also grow, then they will speak the language perfectly. If they don't have, of course, some deficiencies of organs related to speech. Otherwise, in the future, when the time comes, they can do it. So this doesn't cause any changes of the pronunciation. Yes, another thing is old words acquiring new meanings. This can also be considered as vocabulary change, but meaning change, and also at the same time, you can say this causes pronunciation changes. Why? Because you see, in the past, we used to talk about mouse, and mouse normally was used for the animal. Everybody scares, most girls, most females scare about that. So mouse was related to animal. But now mouse is used for technology, computer mouse. And also web, for instance, web was used for just spider web, but today we talk about internet web or other webs. So this really causes changes. Yeah. What is important in pronunciation change is another thing is that principle of ease. Principle of ease or minimization of effort. This is really very important in English language. While we are speaking English, we try to spend let's say, not so much effort. So this is that's why I can say we talk about principle of minimization or minimization effort or ease. So let's see the example in here. Normally fussy in here you can see, and this was normally fussy, but now we talk about fuzzy. Why? Because it's difficult to pronounce s and y together, but z and y together is easy to pronounce because you can see some sounds are produced in the different parts of the mouth. If they are neighboring sounds, it's easy to pronounce. Otherwise, if they are not neighboring sounds in different places, sometimes it's difficult. So this principle of ease or minimization of effort also related to, for instance, in grammar, we have A and N. We say an apple, but we don't say apple. A book, but we don't say an book. Although they have the same grammatical function as A and N, they are different, you can see, in written forms. The reason is the minimization effort or principle of ease, in order to make something easier. If you say an apple, it's so easy to say. A book is so easy to say, but if you say an apple, you see, you really spend too much effort to say apple. Okay. Another thing in principle of ease or minimization effort is assimilation. Assimilation. So this assimilation is not related to the assimilation of the people or languages. This is related to some sounds, neighboring sounds, for instance, if they are in the different places and difficult to pronounce, then the following sound assimilates the previous sound and then makes it easier. Like you see in here, scamped. Normally, it's difficult to produce and t sound together. T, because you see is bilabial. So t is difficult, but t is so easy. So instead of scammed, it was at the beginning was like that, but now we say it as scanned. You see, and it's again doubt. We don't say doubt, dubbed. But is not pronounced. This is the reason of assimilation. Okay. So first group was related to language changes in pronunciation. Now we will talk about changes in morphology and syntax and vocabulary. Here, there are some items in here again. One reason of changes in morphology or vocabulary and syntax may be the influence of other languages. Sometimes, as I told you again, if you are living in the Aegean part of Turkey, for instance, you are affected by Greek. If you are living in the eastern part of Turkey, you are affected by Russian and Iranian people, etc., etc. And beside these, you can also see that some countries which are very powerful, or some let's say politically powerful countries, have also powers in their languages. And especially during the colonization periods or colonization cases, their languages affect other languages. So they we can say superpowers have their super languages, seems to be like that. So today we can say, for example, in India or in Algeria, Algerian French is used. So you can see their Arabic language is affected by French. And in India, it's the case. So Indian people speak English, confusing or mixing with Indian language. This is the case of influence of other languages. So we can say, yeah, this causes changes of vocabulary, morphology, and syntax, and everything in a language. And second one is trade and migration. So in English and other languages, this is the most clear one. We can say that if some people have a good relationship with other nations, they have to deal with their languages. So this causes changes in both languages. And migration also is the case. As you can see, many people went to, from Turkey to Germany. So you can see their languages, Turkish languages, are so different. When they come to Turkey, we cannot understand. So number 3 is technology and new inventions. This is very important again. And today we talk about selfie, selfie. So just 2 years ago, we didn't have selfies, and now we have selfie, you know. So this is the reason. If a new technological device occurs, then this is directly borrowed by other nations or sometimes adapted to their languages. So we can say that technology and new inventions can cause changes. Of course, it doesn't mean that there will be a kind of radical changes. There can be some changes, we can say that. And old words acquire new meaning. This was also related to previous topics, so I don't want to explain it again and again. So lastly, number 5, of course, in here, analogy. Analogy is a kind of overgeneralization. If somebody, or we can say there are 2 things in analogy. Analogy related to children or foreign language learners. One is that. On the other side, we can say analogy related to the adults of the native speakers. These are different things. If analogy is made or overgeneralization is made by the children or by the non-native speakers, then this doesn't cause any changes of the language, original language. Why? Because these people use the language mistakenly. In other words, we can say, since they don't know the language well, they haven't acquired all the things, they are making errors or committing errors. And these are specific errors to these people. Like, for instance, in English, if somebody first learns a dog and dogs in plural form, cat and cats, and when this person learns as a non-native speaker or as a child, when this person learns a mouse in the future, he may say mouses for the plural form, because this person tries to use the old information for the new thing he has learned. This is the reason. But if the person is an adult and native speaker, and if that person or the group of people use analogy, we can say that this is on purpose. On purpose. So it means these people want to make changes in the language, so they want to use the language in a different way. They try to make analogy. Example is that, for instance, in English, we have adverbs finishing with like slow and slowly, and you can say fast. Then the person, without knowing the exception, says fastly. So this is a kind of analogy related to, let's say, native speaker. So he can do this and say that if we are using or we are making adjectives just using layer or earlier, etc., like weekly or early or other things, then it means that, or slow and slowly, let's say, it means that native speaker adult wants to make a generalization and say that we should make all the adverbs in the same manner. Why don't we do like that? Then everybody accepts, and then it becomes a kind of rule, and then we can say, yeah, this causes changes. Another thing can be given as example to another thing is that, for instance, irregular verbs. If we normally use visit and visited and walk and walked, why don't we say go and goed? Understandable. If native speakers try to make such kind of analogy, then it means this is on purpose and this can cause changes in the language. Okay. These are the things, or these were the things related to why languages change. Now, we will talk about why do languages die out, and I've just a couple of things. This is not so long. Don't worry about that. So one reason of the dying of languages is competition. Languages generally die out because of competition. If in a country, for instance, two languages are spoken and one is dominant, politically dominant, or other things we can say, then the superior language or dominant language which is spoken in that country very overwhelmingly, then this survives and the other one dies out. It's like big sheep, let's say large fish eat small fish. It's like that. So in England, for instance, there was Cornish language, and it didn't compete. It was coming from a Celtic language family, and it could not compete with English language, and it died out during the 18th century. So competition is important. Another thing is political reasons. So you can see in the world again, as some countries or some political kinds of things are imposed into this society, and some languages are forbidden or are not spoken by the majority of the people, but minority, then this in the future, if these people do not try to use their languages, in the future they may not survive, they die out. So in the United States, there are about 200 languages, Aboriginal languages, which died out. We can say in 400 years, 200 languages died out in the United States. So political reasons. Okay. Another reason is radical changes. Radical changes is, you see, we have seen something related to the English language. And we said in English, if we compare Old English with even Middle English, we can see lots of changes, tremendous changes. So Old English changed radically when we came to modern English. So in this sense, if there are radical changes in a language and they become as if it were a different language, then we can say this is a dead language. So Old English has died, or let's say is a dead language, so nobody speaks Old English today. And related to this, again in Turkish, we have an example. In Turkey, before the Republic of Turkey, there was Ottoman Turkish, and it was really spoken by everybody in Turkey in the Ottoman Empire. But after the revolution of Atatürk, then it changed to Latin alphabet. So we can say nobody understands Ottoman Turkish today. Nobody speaks. But normally, yeah, at court we can see. At court and in some literary things we can see, but in daily life, people do not speak Ottoman Turkish. So we can say Ottoman Turkish is a dead language. I have an anecdote about this one related to Ottoman Turkish. When I was a student at Atatürk University, I met a person from the United States. He was a retired soldier, and I was talking in English, and during that time he told me that he knew Turkish. He said, yeah, I can speak Turkish. I said, hey, how on earth do you know this? Something like that. And he said, hey, let me talk. And then he talked about Garp, Shark, Bahr, etc. I said, hey, you are not speaking Turkish. You are speaking Ottoman Turkish. Nobody understands you, I said. Understandable. So why? Because no one understands Ottoman Turkish today. So radical changes cause language to die out. Okay, the other one is that disappearing. Disappearing means that, as I told you before, in African countries or African lands, there are some people, some tribes who consist of only 100 people. for instance. And when they are, they just speak their language among themselves maybe, and when they speak their languages during their survival time, it's okay. But when they die out, when they pass away, then their languages also disappear with them. So we can say that, yeah, if the people or majority of the people speak other languages, but minority of people speak their languages in their life, but political reasons, maybe they cannot speak their languages, then they die out. And after then we can say, if the people who are not so high in number speaking some minority languages, like we said, African languages, if they die out, their languages also die out with them. Yes, everybody, that's all for me. Thank you very much for joining my session. And yeah, I could see that it took a little bit long time, but you know, I had to talk about everything in here. Otherwise, if I have left something, you know, untouched, it wouldn't be good. Okay, thank you.
Gencer Hocam, thank you very much. We follow you with great interest and pleasure. And
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I have to confess and admit that as an applied linguist, I myself learned something new. I mean, some of the information shared with us currently is really new to us, and I very much appreciate the extensive knowledge and also analytic approach to a language. So you outline the history of language, and I would like to open the platform for a question or contribution. Hocam, you look, I mean, you give the impression that you were to ask a question, so, or any comment or any point you would like to make here, please.
Gencer Hocam, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For this, you know, quite elaborate information on language change. We just learned that languages change, languages die out. When you were talking about language change and language die out, I was thinking about Turkish. You know, English has gone through a lot of different stages. And at the beginning, you stated that with the help of Norman invasion, then English came to be regularized. Sorry. And but later on, you know, I think it was the Dutch people who put the spoken English language into the written, you know, printing system. Maybe we should also thank the Dutch people and the Dutch. How do you call them? The Dutch. I mean, the writers who took the English language. Yeah, that's printing system, you know, was developed by that with the help of them. And then I think we have today's English. That's why we have a lot of differences between the written and the spelling and the orthography and also the pronunciation form of English. Maybe because of the lack of understanding on the part of the Dutch learners of English. I don't know whether the Dutch printers made it more complex or not, but they somehow regularized it. Then when it comes for Turkish, that I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah.
So Turkish language has been changing a lot.
Yeah.
And what factors do you see? You said that maybe the radical change and made a dramatic impact on Turkish language. Nowadays, among the factors you have stated, which ones do you give priority to the change of Turkish language? Like, you know, fashion, or let's say the media. What do you think? Then I can add something else later on. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
so thank you very much for your question indeed. Normally, almost everybody knows the answer. I can say that. Why? Because media is the most important thing. Yeah, but we can say that this is related to daily speech change. It's not related to, let's say, formal Turkish change. Why? Because in Turkey there is Turkish, let's say, Turkish Language Foundation. So Turkish Language Foundation is really very strict about the rules. So it doesn't, I mean, Turkish language these days do not change or doesn't change just for the sake of media or for the sake of people who are using. Because you can say that, yeah, in daily life, because of using, let's say, mobile phones, people are using different kind of making something easy, you see. It's a kind of making easy principle or something like that. Why? Because while they are contacting with other people, writing text messages, they try to use short forms. Maybe this is the reason of changing, but this really doesn't affect the language itself. This is used only among the people, that's all. This is informal change, understandable. It's not the formal changing of Turkish language, because we can say that in England, there is, or in, I don't know about the United States, but in England, there is not a foundation like Turkish Language Foundation. In England, there is no English Language Foundation, just, we can say, the linguists, just the dictionary makers, and the authors are deciding about which is correct, which is not correct. But we are lucky about this. We have an authority at the head of the foundation.
Can I just share something else very quickly? I have a lot of discussions, debates here with the Turkish teachers, Türkçe öğretmenleri, and Turkish professors. I say that I am careful about my use of Turkish. I avoid using English words when I speak in Turkish. And they say, don't worry about it. It is language change. English, I mean, people have invented technology. So well, it's natural. Just leave it. Let people use English words. And I say, hey, come on. Why do we have the equivalence? Why do we need to use? And they don't worry about the use of as much as we do. And also, when we look around, we see granddads, grandmoms using English words. In Denizli, I'm going to speak with Denizli accent. Teyze diyor ki, bay bay deve bakayım yavrum diyor. Bay bay deve bakayım diyor. Şimdi bay bay. So then, Sinan, Oktay Sinanoğlu, his book, on bye bye Turkish. Do you think that with this tempo, at this tempo, is Turkish going to die out?
No. So as I told you, such kinds of speech with the children or other people do not cause any changes. However, of course, this is related to just the people living in that area. So they may have some effects of the languages surviving there. Like here, as I told you, we are living with Russian people. We have something from Russian language, even the place names you can find. So if people speak in their own dialects, don't worry about that, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gencer, I would like to continue with the point that you just left. The topic is, does language change and die out? So the word change is very often articulated normally. So you can say that's the whole story. But I mean, you never said whether change is at the same time indicates an improvement, because change is doing something different. Change indicates difference. But every change is a kind of improvement, because improvement means doing or getting something or doing something better. That's, so I mean, I know it's not, it takes you beyond your topic, but as a person, I'd like to hear your comment and your position in, so would you accept all changes something and positive? Because I know, we know for sure, it's inevitable for any language to change, but does it mean that all kinds of changes are the expected ones we accept willingly? So what kind of position do you think we should be in when we see this kind of changes, which may turn out to be something negative?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good question. Yeah. Okay, let me give example from Norman invasion. You see, yes, changes generally, we may think that they are bad, but of course, changes generally make the situation better, I think, in language especially. Why? Because in Norman invasion, and at the beginning, it started with Vikings, Scandinavian invasion. Scandinavian people, I mean, Danish people, basically, did not know English language at the very beginning of the invasion. And of course, English people did not know Old Norse, let's say Danish language. So they tried to learn each other's languages. So English and Danish language at the very beginning mixed together, and started, or let's say changing started during that time at first. And this caused simplifications of English language during that time. So some reductions of the inflections slowly started during that time. And after then, when Normans invaded England, of course, almost 300 years, English language was not spoken in England as an official language. English was not spoken in England after Norman invasion, about 300 years. And during that time, firstly, Latin language was spoken among both nations. And after then, French language became important. So when English language again became the official language in England 300 years later, we could see that it became so simple. So we can see reductions, all reductions almost reduced, and also no definite article like, you know, see, saw, that, etc., etc., just definite article as today, and also simplification of grammatical gender. There was grammatical gender in Old English, but after Norman invasion, no grammatical gender. So we can say that this is a good way over the changing of the language. So therefore, today we are learning English language easily, thanks to Normans. And now we can learn it easily. Otherwise, if it were a kind of Old English period like that, we could never learn English. Lots of inflections, lots of grammatical gender, lots of definite articles, etc., etc. So we can say that, yes, languages, if they change, of course, sometimes they can change because of external factors. They can change because of internal factors. Internal factors, languages by themselves, like human beings, as we said. Otherwise, somebody forces and then change. So you can see both can be possible. So generally we can say if it changes regularly, we can say it seems to be positive, but by force, then it seems to be negative, you know. Thank you. Did you get your answer?
Well, thank you very much. Though I have some more questions, but my position does allow me to ask some more further questions. So I need to keep quiet and also allow
thank you
to ask questions. So Hasan Hocam, yes, well, could you raise your hand, because I want to run the rest of the session smoothly and effectively. Turgay Hocam, I really apologize, but I said Hasan first. Next, Turgay Hocam. Yes, Hasan.
Hocam, thank you very much. So regarding the change issue, I would like to add a few things. So let me share some statistics before going into discussion. So according to Ethnologue, there are 7,139 languages all over the world, and 40% of the languages, existing languages, are endangered. So when I say endangered, it means there are less than 1,000 speakers of those languages. And using Crystal's calculations, David Crystal's calculations, so 4% of the languages all over the world is spoken by 96% of the world population. So, which is something like, linguistic capitalism. So most of the time when I think of change, I usually equate it with, negative associations. And there could be vice versa, scenarios. For example, language revitalization, as in the case of Hebrew. So revival of a language. But most of the time, the changes result in the loss of languages. And again, referring to David Crystal's predictions, every 2 weeks, one language is lost. So I'm not sure how can we make this change more optimistic. How can we look at this change more optimistic, and what could be done to look at this issue more optimistically?
Okay, thank you. Normally, yeah, I know about what you said, but there are some, as I told you, if the languages change by themselves, don't worry about that. Because it's like human beings, as I said, they change slowly, they get something, and then other languages also get something from these languages, it's okay. But if it is on purpose, and if it is the case of colonization, it's so difficult, It's a kind of cancer or something like that. So we can see such things in the world. In this case, you can see that in order not to lose such languages, sometimes some linguists are trying to record the languages. But of course, it's so difficult to record all the words, all the vocab, all the grammatical things. But I think if the extent of the changing is so high, then it's so difficult to take precaution. It's because it's on purpose. And as I told you, in the United States, you see the 400 years of history they have, 200 Aboriginal languages died out. So so as linguists, maybe we can have last year's during, maybe just 3 years ago or 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in Ardahan, there was a meeting about that. Lost languages, or have to prevent the losses of the languages, etc., etc. So it means that as the linguists, we should try to, all together, try to find solution to this one. Otherwise, it's so difficult. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, for a long time we haven't heard from Turgay Hocam. It's good to see you here again with us. Yes, please, the platform is yours.
Thank you very much, Naci Hocam. Before asking my question, Naci Hocam, I would like to express my feelings. If you can give me this, I will be very happy, because I see here Gencer ELKILIÇ Hocam. We have known each other for a long time. Therefore, I would like to express my feelings first. I would like to express my gratitude to dear Professor Dr. Gencer ELKILIÇ, because we worked together at Kafkas University more than 10 years. I had countless good reminiscences there. He has taught me many things. He first contributed much on my academic career. Next, he also behaved and acted as an elder brother and guided me when I am in trouble and in easy situations. And now we have still very deep contact.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for your feelings. I also feel for you such things. You're my brother, and I'm always with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really much owe to him. And now I had the chance to see him and hear him. Of course, this opportunity has been created by dear Professor Dr. Naci Kayaoğlu hocam and his team. I would like to express my gratitude to them, and I would like to thank them a million. They also assisted us in organizing some mini seminars in my department in Ordu University, because I do not want to feel here lonely. I believe that I will always find any help from both Kafkas University, Karadeniz Technical University, and also Ardahan University here, and when I'm in need of help. And as Ordu University, we are here and ready for any assistance. And now my questions.
Yeah.
Language changes are inevitable, and languages purify. They resemble each other for a long time because several factors such as politics, technology, mass media, imperialism, and so on. And the question emerges here, I think, what about the cultural changes? Because the popular culture is prevailing. When we think of the radical changes of languages, should we think only the structures of languages or plus culture?
Thank you.
How should the cultural changes evaluated in line with language structures?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. So you can see, yeah, languages are not different from their cultures. And in our classes, generally, you can see we teach language and culture together. So we can talk about if languages change, sometimes, of course, their cultures also change, people's cultures. So this is, again, in Turkish, it's the same, and also in English, it's the same. As we said, during the Norman invasion, because of, you can see, Normans coming to England, all the important positions were given to the hands of Normans. So people had to learn French language in order to go to the church, in order to attend the schools, in order to follow their issues at court. And so you can see, and after then you can see, after 300 years, when English language again became the language of England as an official language, many words came into English language from French culture. So we can say in English today, there are 16,000 words from French, 16,000 words. So these words are generally from upper class and and giving information or something related to French culture. So we can see from here that, yes, the language itself, not like a structure, but also the culture changes, along with the language. This is inevitable. That's right. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you very much, sir.
Gencer hocam, thank you very much for your response, and also Turgay hocam, thank you very much for your nice words. And but again, it's our responsibility and to this kind of activities, and it's my pleasure to work with you. So we realize, and these activities, with your help, with your support, with your cooperation. So I believe, and so we need to extend our cooperation. And so we need to work together, put our heads together, and to do more for our students and for ourselves. And we have a students from Kafkas University, Ayşe Günday. Ayşe, are you with us?
Hi everyone. Hi Gencer hocam.
Hi, how are you?
I am good.
Hey.
Thanks for asking.
Nice to hear you, Ayşe. Thank you. You always join our classes.
And also, it was pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you.
And thanks for such an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a question which is related to both the core of people and linguistic issues. We know that one of the reasons of the language that is political reasons, and also it is highly about the post-colonial movement. And if the speaker of a language disappear, the language itself will disappear.
Yes.
But when people acquire another language, they live a loss of identity. And then the mixture of new language and their essence create a language within new identity. We know that it doesn't belong to the native language wholly. And I wonder the effect of this assimilation. Is it called the survivor of the powerful country or the survivor of the people for communication?
Yeah, well, thank you, Ayşe. It's a great question. So we can say, as we said before, it's like big fish eat small fish. This is the answer normally. Big fish eat the small one. Normally, yeah, if their languages change or disappear, they have to learn other languages, of course. And as we said, their cultures as well. So we sometimes cannot live according to our cultures. And so we can say, yes, somewhat their identity also changes. This is inevitable thing if you think about colonization and, assimilation, that's right. And besides this, we can also say that in our daily life, we have learned English, and sometimes in my life, when I'm using some Turkish things, I try to, unwillingly, maybe, I apply something into Turkish language from English. Something like, kravat giymek, saat giymek. Interesting, but I do it. I'll give my saat. Saatimi giyeceğim. Something like that. I don't say takmak. I don't know why, but normally languages sometimes impose something onto you. This is inevitable, Ayşe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll continue with the people on Zoom, but do you have any questions and contribution from YouTube?
Hocam, there are many greetings on YouTube and Zoom as well from Kafkas University, Sabahattin Zaim University, Ordu, Cumhuriyet, Atatürk, and Karabük Universities. And I would like to read one of the comments as a closing comment from Selçuk Hocam. KTUDELL üşenmeden, erinmeden Aralık 2020'den bu yana üniversitelerimizden farklı disiplinlerden birçok hocamızı bir araya getirdi. Bilimsel aktivitenin makale, kitap yazmak, doktor, doçent, profesör olmak ile sınırlı olmadığını, aksine bunun en önemli ayağının da hocaların yapmış olduğu ya da yapmakta oldukları araştırmaları öğrencilerle paylaşması gerçeğine öncülük ettiği için çok teşekkür ederim. Saygılarımla.
Okay, it's very kind of Selçuk Hocam. I feel flattered. Thank you very much, Selçuk Hocam. Ömer Şekerci Hocam.
Thank you very much, Hocam.
Yes, Hocam.
Gencer Hocam, thank you so much for very bright, full, and informative presentation.
Thank you.
Naci Hocam, my special thanks goes to you and your special team for providing such a lovely atmosphere. Actually, it's not a question. I mean, you may take it as a contribution if you like, Gencer Hocam.
Great. I also want contributions.
No, thank you so much. Actually, I'm not a linguist. I know my limits, but I have been studying linguistics as my minor, if you like. So,
great.
I mean, from my childhood, really, the question is always in my mind. Look, my ancestors, I call them Ottomans, Osmanlı.
Yes.
If they had imposed Ottoman Turkish in those lands were under their control, what kind of word, what else would we have today?
Great.
I bet we would have much better world with peace. Why? I mean, my atam, my ancestors never ever imposed or forced any, I call it linguistic imperialism. Linguistic imperialism, you may call it colonial language practices, what has brought down or brought about demise of the all what has language, as like Darwin's survival of the fittest. Fittest was the Western linguistic imperialism, right? So actually, to me, in order to, I mean, maintain our language or any language, so I mean, what is, I call it somehow language literacy, right? So
Yes.
Unless we, let's say, improve or have a strong language literacy, right? So sooner or later, whatever that language we use or any other countries, right? That language will be under attack or will be a demise. What else? When exposed by the dominant language, I call it linguistic imperialism. So what is language literacy? It must be our focal point, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes to actually another question, there are lots of theories on the origin of the languages, right? So, I mean, some mythological theories on the origin of languages, and then some, let's say, according to monotheist religions, let it be Islam, Christianity, and Hebrew, right?
From Adam.
So, which one do you prefer, or which one do you
Interesting questions, but this question seems to be to all people in here, I think, yeah, normally. As far as I know, I can see that, every language. First of all, we were created as just one person at first, Adam. So it started with Adam, and then it just, after then, your children and children's children, etc., etc. So you can see, because of divergent development during the later time, maybe they went to other places without contacting with each other, then other languages emerged, I think. This seems to be like that simple, yeah.
Eski ahitte diyor ya, Adem'e dedi ki yaratan, Adem, bu yarattıklarımı isimlendir. Bir de meşhur bizim Babil Kulesi var biliyorsun. Şu an Irak yakınlarında. Yaratana meydan okuyor. Güya tabii özetliyoruz canım. Biz hakkında değil, ben dinci değilim de. Yaratana meydan okuyor değil mi? Ondan sonra ne yapıyor? Yaratan da bu cezalar bir gecede, ya rivayet tabii de, atıyorum 6.000 çalışana 6.000 dil oluyor değil mi? Mitolojide şöyle saçma anlatıyorlar. Diyor ki işte bir tufandan sonra bir Noah Ark gibi ayrıldılar diyor. İşte sen söyle, erkeğin attığı taşlar erkek oldu, arkasına attı, arkaya bakmadılar. Kadın attıklarda kadın oldu diyor. Anlatabildim mi? Şimdi öğrenciler diyor hocam biz mitolojideki buna mı inanacağız? Ondan sonra kutsal kitaplardaki mi? Ya bunlar soyut şeyler. İnanç da öyledir. Bunu ispatlayamayız ki. Öyle değil mi Hacı hocam? İman edersin ya veya etmesin. Önemli olan o nasıl functional olmuş. Öyle değil mi? Mesela bizim Osmanlı'da daha iyi bilirsiniz. 19. yüzyıla kadar Fransızca hayranlığı vardı. Niye? Lingua Franc, değil mi? Lingua Franca'ydı. Sanatın, ekonominin dili Fransa'ydı. Ama İngilizler 19. yüzyılda bu koloni dünyayı sömürmede zirve yaptıkları için ne yapmış dilinde dostlar? Dilinde ne yapmışlar? Imperialistic language olmuş. İngilizlerin foundation kurmasına gerek yok hocam. Bizler yapıyoruz onu zaten. Bak hep burada. Tabii.
Biz koruyoruz değil mi? İngilizceyi gayet güzel koruyoruz.
Şu gençler için bunu bilerek söylüyorum. Değerli dostlar, biz kültürel bağlamda okur yazarlığımız ne kadar artıyorsa, ne kadar yazılı ürün bırakabiliyorsak ve sosyal olarak, ekonomik olarak ne kadar güçlüysek bırakın o dil ölmez. Ne kadar zayıflarsanız o dil ölür. İngilizce reklama gerek yok. İngilizce yapan 2. Dünya Savaşı'ndan sonra bu Amerikanlardır. Uncle Sam'dir. Uncle Sam gelmiş. Şeyde hatırlarsınız, ben bilmem, 60'lardan hatırlayın Hacı Hocam. Okullarda süt tozları dağıtıyorlarmış. Çocuklar soruyor, öğretmenim bu kimden? Yavrum Sem amcadan diyormuş. Oğlum ne Sem amcası? Duruyor. Sana şey veriyor, süt verir mi? Toz veriyor gibi.
Yani biz içmiştik, o sütlerden içmiştik. Hatırlıyorum ben. İlkokul birde tabii.
Gençlere diyorum ki,
evet.
burada öğrenci arkadaşlar olduğu için biz her zaman öğrenci. Yoksa kendi kendimize yanlışlamayız. Kendimiz çalıp kendimiz oynamayalım da. Öğrenciler olsun yeter ki. Olay şu. Arkadaşlar biz önce dilimizi iyi kullanmayı öğreneceğiz. Öyle değil mi Hacı Hocam? O yazılı metin bırakmadığımız sürece bu literacy, language literacy, siz söyleyin, güçlü olmadığı sürece o diller yok olur. haliyle linguistik empirizme maruz kalır. Bunu da tek ölçüsü nedir hocam? Ekonomik olarak, sosyal olarak biz her alanda güçlü olmak zorundayız.
Evet, evet.
Bu kadar. Saygılar sunuyorum.
Teşekkür ediyoruz hocam. Sağ olun, var olun.
Hocam,
Hocam burada bir şey sorabilir miyim Ömer hocam?
Buyursunlar.
Hocam, thank you very much. I cannot agree more with you. I know you have a lot to say, but I've just noticed Doğan Hocam Saltaş has raised his hand, and yes, Doğan Hocam.
Hocam, Gencer hocam, good evening again. Thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you too.
I'm very happy and honored to see two universities together because academically, I was born in Kafkas University and grew up in Karadeniz Technical University. That's why I feel honored and happy to see two universities and two valuable professors here in front of the screen. So I want to just contribute in terms of Turkish language, because normally main reasons for the language change are the people and languages themselves, but they are the countries and governments who will protect them. So, for example, when you go to the case, I'm going to talk about the case in Turkey. When you go to a shopping mall in Turkey, you see lots of, let's say, stores in with names in English or other languages. And my question is that, do you believe that legal regulations in Turkey are sufficient to protect Turkish language?
Yeah, interesting question. Well, thank you. Yeah. Normally it seems to be yeah, but in theory, of course. Yeah, but in practice, it's not the case, because you can see in the cities, that's right, when you go somewhere else, you can see lots of names without understanding the meanings, lots of things. So I think, yeah, the authorities do not really, take precautions about not doing that. But anyway, we can say that, as somewhat Recep Hoca said, we cannot sometimes force something, some changes or something in the language. Because if some people, if it is not, of course, something against our tradition, against our maybe, Turkish culture, etc., etc., why don't we write, different names to the shops? So we should be a little bit, let's say, not strict about these things, I think. This is not related to, keeping some language in a good position, I think. This is not related to that. But if you use these things in a, in a way that you change your language, then it's okay. But this is just a kind of sign or a kind of name. That's all, I think.
Because let me contribute a little bit more.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was Recep Yazıcı, the famous governor, who banned all the foreign language signboards in Aydın, as I remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I believe our government should take a step like this, because we are too, let's say, we are using other languages too much, and the young generation are easily affected by the borrowed words, and they tend to use these borrowed words from different languages too much, too often. That's why I believe that government should do more to protect the Turkish language. With the case.
Nagihan, can I just add something more on this?
Mm-hmm.
Doğan Hocam, yeah, I agree partly, with your statements about the government's legal actions. However, I think it's in the minds of the people. When I was at Karadeniz Technical University, I used to teach linguistics courses, and then as part of the project, I sent my students out to analyze the advertisements that shopkeepers were using. And so they were about to be beaten by some of the shop owners. Hey, come on, why do you come here and ask me about, why I use this sign in English? I think we are confused about the use of Turkish or English. As Ömer Hocam stated, it is kind of imperialism. I think we are culturally affected by the West to the extent that I mean, we don't know what we are doing. I mean, what language we should use. If we use English in our shop signs, more customers we will attract. I think first of all, rather than governmental decisions, we need to purify the minds of people here. To what extent are we going to use it? And then I don't want to keep it long, but Gencer Hocam stated that after the Norman invasion, the elite, the so-called elite, the noble people started using English, French words rather than English words. We saw the same in Turkey in the 18th and the 19th centuries. Our so-called elite went to France and came back with a lot of French words and then put them into Turkish. Nowadays, we see the same. Our elite, our academicians, our medical people or engineers are using English words rather than Turkish words. This is totally cultural imperialism. And then, unfortunately, and these people, or maybe I am one of them, we do it just to show off, to show that, okay, we are different from the layman. Unfortunately, we should first of all purify, revise our understanding, beliefs about, okay, to what extent we respect Turkish. Thank you.
Thank you, Hocam.
Doğan Hocam, Gencer Hocam, I'm sorry. Please don't take it as if I were stealing a role from you. Look, language is born naturally, Doğan Hocam. No authority, no law will never ever protect it or make it live. Only we, as a nation, right? The more we educate our, children consciously, I call it like language awareness, right? And then also it depends on the literacy. Literacy, how much do we read? Doğan Hocam, can you tell me? As a nation, or could you tell me? I would be very happy among you who could tell me that how many, let's say, books or journals or whatever published in this country yearly. Look, it was about, let's say, 5 years ago, I came across in an article, it was in time. Look, Netherlands, like, its population is about 11 million, right? Turkey is about 83 million. In Netherlands, right, daily printed, let's say, material, I call them. Let it be, newspapers, journals, diaries, whatever. 9 million. What about my beloved country? What about, it was 5 million Doğan Hocam. Ya kusura bakma, hikaye anlatmayalım. Kardeşim sen ne kadar okuyorsun da o dil yaşayacak. Beğenmedi Hollanda. Ya 11 milyon nüfusu var. 9 milyon basılı matbaalar var. Kusura bakma, Türkçe daha kendini ifade ediyorum. Hocam bunun ölçüsü şudur. Kanuna mani hiçbir şey yapamazsın. Bizim milletimiz ters, zaten yasaklık üzerinde gider. Öyle bir şey olamaz. Ya doğarken sana sordular mı Doğan Hocam? Yaratan buyur demiş, geldik dünyaya. Dil de böyle bir şey. Dili bunun önleyemezsiniz. Buyur, Fransızlar şu anda çıldırıyor. Fransa'da bu var. Ben çok iyi gezdim. Fransa'da İsviçre'de yaşadım da giderdim de. Fransız polisi hocam, ya yanlış anlamayın, biraz ağır olacak. Ya öküz gibi anlıyor, İngilizce anlıyor. Vallahi anladığını biliyorum hocam. Ya Fransa cevap veriyor bana. Neden? O sanıyor ki gerizekalı, özür dilerim. Yani Fransa öyle, oğlum alakası yok. Öbür tarafta garibimi buldum, Cezayirli. Tamam brother dedi, gel. İngilizce konuştuk onda. Bunu önleyemezsin. Anlatabildim mi? Bu ekonomik güçlü olur, bilinçli olur. Bak samimi söylüyorum, Fransız polise soruyorum. Adres soruyorum. Dinliyor, Fransa cevap veriyor. Anlamadın, nasıl cevap veriyorsun? Yani bu demek, bununla yapan, bunu Fransa çok yaptı, beceremiyor. İşte restoranizmi yasaklıyor falan. Yok, gençler kullanıyor bunu. O dedim ki Fransa, yavrum Macron, o artık 19. yüzyılda, o iş bitti. 18. yüzyıldaydı değil mi? Recep hocam söyledi, bizim Osmanlı elitleri gitmiş. Şimdi bu İngilizlerin de şeyi değil, bu ekonomiyle alakalı. İkinci Dünya'da Uncle Sam dünyaya bu ekonomik olarak askeri hegemon olmasaydı, Doğru değil mi? Bunu Noam Chomsky çalışanlar bilir. Tavsiye ederim. Yani hatta şöyle bir şey de derim. Noam Chomsky yine saçmalamış demeyin hocam. Diyor ki yine bana diyecekler ki bu manyak işte Marksist, Chomsky saçmalıyor. 35 yıllık İngiliz ve Amerikan gizli servisi CIA'nın ve MI6'in 35 yılda bunlar biliyorsunuz belgeleri yayınlıyorlar, tamam mı? Bunları derlemiş Chomsky hocam. Yıl 501, tamam mı? Year 501 diyor ki Conquest continues diyor. Yıl 501 Batı'nın işgali devam ediyor. Burada tek tek anlatmış. Diyor ki ya alkışlarlar 2. Dünya Savaşı'ndan sonra Amerika'nın ekonomik ve askeri hegemonyasına dayalı olarak diyor bir dil emperyalizmi oldu. Ekonomik onu saymıyoruz. Kültür emperyalizmi oldu. O yüzden diyor ki isteseydi diyor Vatikan'ın bile yerine başka bir dil koyabilirdi de buradaki şeylerden korkuyor oydan diyor. Bu kadar yani. O yüzden biz ekonomik olarak güçlü olacağız. Nesiller bilinçli olacak. O dilleri kelime kullanmak, o dil kaybolmaz. Okur yazarlık iyiyse biz üretip bırakabiliyorsak yani dedim ya biraz önce ne kadar bu ülkede günlük insanlar okuyoruz hocam. Hocası dahil, şahsımız dahil. Olay bununla alakalı. Saygılar sunuyorum. Kusura bakmayın.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Hocam çok kısa bir düzeltme yapayım.
Aklınıza gelmesin.
Yanlış anlaşılmamak için hocam. Benim bahsettiğim salt yasak değildi. Hani bununla ilgili yasal düzenlemeler, bu bahsettiğiniz farkındalığı artırmak vesaire de dahil olmak üzere.
Hocam onlar bu dolu. Sen onu geç. Şimdi daha düğünlerdeki diyor bilmem ne metnesi. Kültürle eğitimle alakalı bir şey bu. Alakası yok. Onu bunu gösterişi hocam. Okur yazarlık artacak değil mi? Öyle değil mi?
Aynen evet.
Tabii şeyde vardı bir dakika denk geldi de Churchill olması lazım. Bu Winston Churchill hocam bunun dairesini okumanızı tavsiye ederim. Tamam mı? Diyor ki hazır olun. Hatta Susan diye kız kardeşi var. Müslüman olarak öldüğünü de söylüyor sonunda. Samimi söylüyor. O yönde puanını ver. Ben ilgilenmiyorum. Ben ne öldüyse de Allah hesap versin de. Diyor ki bu Türkler hocam 3 şey için ölür. İşte vatan, bayrak, dil. Diyor ki eğer bu dilleri de biraz daha empoz etmiş olsalardı bu dünya ne yapardı diyor ya. Tabii ya Avrupa kalmazdı diyor. İyi ki dilde de bir şey yapamamış diyor. O Language Imperialism'i gerçekleştiremiş. İyi ki orayı yapamamışlar diyor. Tabii çünkü dil gönülleri ilk girilen fethedilen silahtır hocam. Saygılar sunarım.
Evet. Teşekkür ediyoruz hocam.
Hocam, I really do enjoy having this kind of conversation, which changed the atmosphere and turned the atmosphere into a lovely and but at the same time, so we're approaching to almost 11 o'clock. So I need to show respect for the people and audience and the speaker. I always enjoy your conversation, your participation, your contribution. You're always welcome. Turgay Hocam, again, I feel I have stopped you. Would you like to say anything, Turgay?
Hocam, I do not want to contribute much more because the time is very tight. So I do not want to continue on the conversation. So maybe there are some other questions.
If anyone desperate to ask or to make any contribution, finally, so I don't want to be rude to anyone, but at the same time, we have to realize that, and it's getting a bit late. Yes, Gencer Hocam, I cannot thank you enough for this very informative, inspiring presentation, which I find myself as an applied linguist very useful. And though we are teaching introduction to language and linguistics, but I feel so we have to include what you have shared with us into our syllabus, because also what you have said is of quite importance, and not only for us, for us also to know. Zara, please, do I miss anything? Would you like to add any points? This is the last event.
Hocam, if you're asking about the comments or contributions from...
No, that's, well, I mean, do you feel there's, we have to share any contribution, any comment?
I guess we don't have we have many greetings, we have many let's say comments on the talk Ömer Hocam just said, I guess, right? Özlem Hocam. Did I miss anything?
Not really. Maybe we can read Mustafa Hocam's question.
Hocam, let's not take any questions because it's a bit late for the question. Sorry, I've been left between being rude and also being punctual. I really apologize to those who want to ask any question, but again, I need to show respect for the speaker and for the audience. And I cannot thank you enough. And thank you very much for your participation, involvement, and the questions. Selçuk Hocam, I cannot see.
I think it says KTUDELL is #1. Thanks.
No, I mean, again, without you, without Gencer Hocam and Recep Hocam, Selçuk Hocam, Turgay Hocam, Ömer Hocam, these are Doğan Hocam, these are the speakers. So we realize, and all this event with their contributions, I mean, otherwise we couldn't have done anything here. So what we have done is simply to provide a platform where people have a chance to talk and share their stories. And thank you very much. And we'll continue our effort to do more and to extend our cooperation with you, in particular with Kafkas University, Assimilation University, Ordu University, and also Recep Hocam's Pamukkale University, and also with Ömer, with Şekerci Hocam. So let's meet at different platform in future. Herkes kendine iyi baksın, iyi hafta sonları.
Naci Hocam çok teşekkürler, çok sağ olun hocam.
Hocam, hocam sağ olun.
Evet. Teşekkür ediyoruz.
İnşallah we could do in person Naci Hocam.
Estağfurullah hocam. Bunlar sizin güzellikleriniz. Sizin güzelliklerinizle bu güzellikler ortaya çıktı.
Hocam teşekkürler. Yüreğinize sağlık.
Biz de teşekkür ediyoruz. Herkesin eline sağlık. Organizasyona çalışanlar için hepsine teşekkür ediyoruz. Emeği geçenler için.
Herkese iyi akşamlar dostlar.
Evet, herkese iyi akşamlar.
Hocam iyi akşamlar.
Tüm öğrencilerimize de iyi akşamlar diliyoruz. Katılımlarından dolayı teşekkür ediyoruz.